Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Thursday, um, Thursday, April the 17th, 2025. We're that much closer to WrestleMania weekend. Um, let's see. Before, of course, I go over what's on tap tonight, just give people a chance to come in. Friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let me just do some more fishing here, as it were. All right. Yeah, so I was, of course, watching my afternoon cartoon block today. The classic cartoon showcase. Decided afterwards, of course, to take a look because I just completed July of 1936. So we're heading into August, so just kind of seeing where things would be going, and I found out that, of course, at that point. From there, from let's see, the Rainbow Parade series produced by Van Buren had, I believe, a couple more um, at that point. As of the end of before the their last Rainbow Parade would be, I believe, in September. And probably in October of 1936, and then the Comic Color series, which was being produced by Celebrity Productions from out of the Works Studios. They only had one more at that point, which I think was coming up on September 25th of that year. So by the end of the fall of 1936, two of the companies that were distributed, two of the studios companies that were producing cartoons, Works and Van Buren, would come to an end at that point. Now RKO Radio Pictures, which was at that point distributing the Van Buren studio stuff, they would eventually sign up with Disney and would start distributing them, taking over for United Artists. So anyways, so now we're coming up on 4 minutes, so now I guess I can talk about what's on tap for tonight. As on as For tonight, we got a couple of articles we're going to go over from Bleeding Fool. One talking about one of the fastest selling indie manga in U.S. history. The monsters we make from YouTuber Corey Kenshin. And then apparently there's a new summer comic book special coming out from DC, starring Superman. So those two, plus we'll have, of course, we'll also do the wrestling wrap up. Look back to last night's Dynamite. Look ahead to tonight's Impact. As tonight's Impact, of course, will also be the countdown to the Unbreakable on TNA Plus, Unbreakable pay per view on TNA Plus. As part of the part of the as part of the part of the WrestleMania WrestleCon festival this week. And then we'll also be looking at today's episode of Ring of Honor, which actually aired earlier due to the fact, I guess, because they were doing, it was done as a special, I guess, as part of the spring breakthrough specials that AEW is doing. So with that being said, and of course we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? And we will go ahead and get to the first article here in a moment, as soon as I bring that up. Again, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get to this first article then that we'll head into. So Corey Kenshin's, in smaller quotes, Monsters We Make becomes fastest selling indie manga in U.S. history. Article by John Pallister, published yesterday, April 16th, 2025. Well, let's take a look at this. Popular YouTuber Corey Kenshin has made a groundbreaking leap into the world of manga with his debut series, Monsters We Make. Known for his comedic horror gameplay and a subscriber base of nearly 22 million, Corey surprised fans in December 2024 by returning from a 18-month self-imposed hiatus to unveil this ambitious project. The manga, blending science fiction and horror, has been lauded for its gripping narrative and strong black representation. Its success has catapulted it into the spotlight as a significant milestone in independent publishing. Set in the year 2114, Monsters We Make follows Jabari Booker, a gifted musician who enrolls at New Eden Academy to refine his talents. However, the academy is far from a haven. It hides sinister secrets involving mutated monsters and a corrupt global tech giant, Sanada. Funny that there's a professional wrestler, a Japanese professional wrestler named Sanada who basically spells out his name just like that in all caps. So it's just kind of funny how they do that there. I wonder if there is any connection to that. But anyways, I digress. Jabari and his allies are thrust into a brutal battle for survival as they uncover dark conspiracies and confront their own inner demons. The story's themes of identity, survival, and corruption resonate deeply with readers, while its black and white art style pays homage to traditional manga aesthetics. The first volume of Monsters We Make shattered records, selling over 200,000 physical copies in its first week of release, making it the fastest selling independently published manga in U.S. history. Published by New Eden Press and sold exclusively through its official website for $14.99, the manga's success is driven by Corey Kenshin's massive fan base and the quality of the storytelling. Digital sales figures remains undisclosed, but are expected to add significantly to its overall reach. And I guess that's Corey Kenshin right there. That's the face of the man who wrote this manga. Corey Kenshin has expressed hopes for an anime adaptation of Monsters We Make, envisioning dynamic fight sequences inspired by his childhood series like Dragon Ball Z. He has also said he dreamed of one day creating a black protagonist who could inspire readers the way characters like Goku inspired him growing up. With Volume 2 slated for release in late 2025, fans eagerly anticipate what's next for Jabari Booker's journey. The success of Monsters We Make marks a turning point for independent manga and comic book creators in the US, proving that compelling stories and a large audience can thrive outside traditional publishing avenues. Corey Kenshin's venture sets a new standard for indie projects in the um, manga industry. All right, so there we go with that. There we go with that. Again, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the question the best of my ability. Well, with that being said, let's move on to the next article here. Superman enters a new era in supersized summer comic book special article by Christina Wiggins, published April 17th, 2025. So let's see some of Superman's special here. All in. Unlimited Adventures. Non-stop action. Superman's new era begins. Alright, so the summer of Superman is getting up, up, and away! Ahead of James Gunn's Superman movie in theaters July 11th, DC Comics is launching a publishing initiative that is not only the beginning of a new era for the Man of Steel, but Action Comics. Almost 87 years to the date since Superman made his historical debut in Action Comics #1 on April 18th, 1938. So let's see. So that will be tomorrow, of course. April 18th is tomorrow. So that would be what? Let's see. 2025 minus 1938. That'd be 87 years ago. And 80 years since a young Clark Kent first appeared as Superboy in More Fun Comics number 101 in 1945. DC will look at the past, present, and future of the last son of Krypton in Summer of Superman special #1. On sale April 16th, which was yesterday, the oversized 48-page one-shot from Super Series architects Joshua Williamson, Superman, Mark Waid, Superman Action Comics, and Dan Slott, writer of the new ongoing Superman Unlimited, set the stage for Superman's new era and the events spanning the Superman titles. Good boy, Crypto. But be careful. This fella's dangerous. The first chapter of a three-part story written by Waid, Justice League Unlimited, in parentheses there, with art by Jorge Jimenez, in parentheses Super Sons, returns to Smallville, Kansas, and the pre-crisis on Infinite Earth's version of events, where a teenage Clark Kent made his debut as Superboy, Boy of Steel, before becoming the Metropolis-based Man of Steel. In parentheses here, the Superboy mantle passed to the clone Connell, and then Lois Lane and Clark's son John Kent in the modern era. Hmm. Waid and Jimenez's story follows a 15-year-old Clark Kent his canine companion Crypto the Super Dog, and Clark's childhood crush, Lana Lang, decades before her present-day wedding to John Henry Irons, a.k.a. Steel. The new Action Comics creative team of Wade and artist Skylar uh, Patridge, in parentheses, in her DC ongoing series debut, un parentheses, will then take the series back to Clark's hometown of Smallville on the Kent family farm, starting with Action Comics number 1087 in June, ending the numbering in 87, considering that it was 87 years ago that he made his debut there. Alrighty then. So yeah, look like those two articles kind of went kind of quick. So maybe I'll go ahead here and look to see. Let's see what else we can find here. Turns us, and we're just barely past 16 minutes there. So let me just see what else I can possibly find that take up some time here. Let's see if we got. Oh yeah, follow up to a story we kind of were following a while back here. It looks like. Let's take a look at this. Um, and I just found something here in realm, I guess you could say, of cartoon. Um, sure, some of you have been watching or have at least heard a little bit about this. The whole X-Men '97. Looks like we had a little bit more coming out from, I guess, Bo DeMaio here. So, X-Men '97 creator continues to battle Marvel, and Kevin Feige claims Disney is rewriting history and stealing credit. Article by Noah Thunder, published today. So, there's a shot of Wolverine right there. So, let's see here. So, X-Men '97 creator Bo DeMaio has had a long feud with Disney and Marvel Studios after being fired as director of the superhero series right before its premiere on Disney Plus. Rumors about on-set behavior and creative tension have made X-Men '97's creation nothing short of a drama fest. However, the former director has some choice criticisms for an upcoming book about the series. Now, mind you, just to remind everybody, DeMaio was supposedly let go from Disney, claiming that he was difficult to work with. There was some theory thrown out there that it may have been due more to some kind of risque pictures that he had up on some of his social media. So, but basically, he was let go. So, take you got to take at least some of what he says probably with a grain of salt a bit here. Following a panel at WonderCon 2025, where members of the team were interviewed, Bo DeMaio took to X to comment his perspective of what really happened during the development of X-Men '97. So, at Jake Castorena had nothing to do with writing of X-Men '97, which makes him which makes him writing the foreword to the upcoming making of book even more baffling to me. The only director who ever got a line in a script was the Chase Conley. Quote, "Minds are far harder to bend than metal," unquote, Bo DiMaio. Jake Castorena is the current supervising producer for X-Men 97 and has remained with the series after Bo DiMaio's firing in March 2024. Bo takes aim at both him and Marvel Studios and claims that they are trying to rewrite history, what really happened behind the scenes. Well, I mean, there's also a matter of perspective too. Everybody's got their own view on things. So it's I think kind of obvious to say that Bo has his view on what happened and Marvel has their view, and it's up to everybody who hears the story to decide for themselves which one is more credible. But anyways, yet again, at Marvel Studios, at Jake Castorena, trying to rewrite history and exploiting at X-Men TAS, writer of X-Men Julia Lewald, X-Men the animated series, in parentheses there, and at X-Men director Larry Houston, parentheses Larry Houston, director of the original 90s X-Men series, to unknowingly do their dirty work, just like he tried to take credit for Magneto's death. Bo DiMaio. Bo's claims are only the latest in a long series of accusations at Marvel and the Walt Disney Company following his firing from the series. Bo had previously threatened to expose Marvel in court for how he was treated during the creation of the series. Bo DiMaio has kept in close communication with the fans of the series following his departure, with many voicing their desire for DiMaio to be involved with the upcoming second season of the series and showcase his vision for the show's future. However, Bo has also seen attention from skeptics who wonder if the director might be ignoring his own potential wrongdoings behind the scenes. Now, mind you, of course, chances that they're going to bring him back are pretty slim. They're more than likely, they're going to probably, they're not going to bring him back. I don't see that happening. I know a lot of fans would probably want to see him back, but in what could be seen as less dramatic, Bo DiMaio also shared additional insights on the inclusion of Peter Parker, better known as Spider-Man, in the series. Peter's cameo had actually made it to the final version of the series following Bo's firing and helped to give fans some closure to a Spider-Man show that ended on a cliffhanger many years ago. Now, mind you, too. Now, having Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spider-Man crossover, that does kind of make sense considering that the X-Men from the 90s X-Men made a crossover in the two-part of the Mutant Agenda story arc during season 2's Neogenic Nightmare story arc, season arc. Then this is Bo speaking again. So Peter Parker was an idea I had from, in parentheses, the get-go. The get, parentheses, go, because I wanted audiences to know that Peter had found MJ in the 90s series, unquote, Bo DiMaio. Many fans have longed for the 1990 Spider-Man TV series, which aired on Fox Kids, to see a similar sequel cartoon similar to X-Men 97. However, it seems that Bo will have nothing to do with any superhero creation that will eventually get off the ground at Marvel, despite many clamoring for his return. What exactly went wrong during the toxic development of X-Men 97 will continue to be revealed in time. But Mr. DeMaio seems intent on making sure that what he sees as the truth is made available to the public. And then I guess they ask here, do you believe Bo DeMaio about the real story behind X-Men 97's development? Do you plan to read the upcoming making of book? Do you think there are more details that need to be seen? Sound off in the comments below. All right. Oh, there we go with that. Let's see, what time is it now? So now 26 minutes. I'm going to see if maybe I can look to see if there's at least one more quickie article. Still a little shy of 30-minute mark, so I think I'll try to see if we can find a quickie article to check out where we. Let me see. And again, if you guys haven't already, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. All right. Oh, actually, there's actually a few articles here we could actually do. Actually, wow. So they usually will send them out. So okay, I got some ideas for some stories to go over tomorrow. Then I think I will go ahead and we'll now go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap up as there actually is quite a bit to go over. So let's see. Let me. All right. So anyway, so now we'll get on to the wrestling wrap up. As we're gonna first off look back to last night's AEW Dynamite, as quite a bit was happening on last night as part of their spring breakthrough show, and their claim that this is a record breaking show for for in terms of prime time for at least for TBS's primetime. So the show opened up with a non-title Owen Hart women's Owen Hart Foundation women's tournament semifinal match. It was a champion versus champion match in which TBS champion Mercedes Moné defeated Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena to advance in the tournament. I'm trying to think if. Oh, yeah, that was a semifinal match, so obviously. Then in a men's quarterfinal, in a men's quarterfinal match. Now remember, the Owen Hart Foundation tournament this year, the respective winners in the men's and women's tournaments will be getting a shot at their respective world titles. So the men's winner will get shot at the men's world title currently held by John Moxley. The women's winner will get a shot at the women's world title currently held by Timeless Tony Storm. Adam Page defeated debuting Josh Alexander, making his AEW debut after coming off of, after coming over from TNA once his contract had expired, and set out the 90-day non-compete clause. In a match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship tag team titles, the Hurt Syndicate of Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley successfully defended the titles against the Gates of Agony of Bishop Gunn and Toa Liona. In the other men's semifinal match, in a men's semifinal match, Will Ospreay defeated Konosuke Takeshita in a battle of two former AEW International Champions. And the main event saw the AEW World Trios title on the line as the ops of Samoa Joe and Katsuyori Shibata teamed up with Powerhouse Hobbs, who filled in for Hook, who was injured last week after an attack by the Death Riders, defeated the Death Riders trio of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and John Moxley, who was acting as an interim champion for the injured Pac. So now also, I believe tonight as well, AEW will be doing their Collision show tonight as opposed to Saturday. And this is all heading into, of course, heading into Double or Nothing in the month. On tonight's Collision, which will air live on TNT as opposed to Saturday, its normal time, as part of the Spring Breakthrough celebration. In a match for the Ring of Honor World Television title, Commander, with Alex Abrahantes in his corner, will be defending Ring of Honor World Television title against Nick Wayne. Julia Hart and Chris Statlander will be teaming up together to take on Harley Cameron and TBS champion Mercedes Moné. Adam Cole will be defending the TNT title against a mystery opponent. Lance Archer, one half of the Murder Machines and part of the Don Callis family, will be taking on Kevin Knight. And then the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita, and I guess new member Josh Alexander will be taking on the conglomeration of Rocky Romero and Tomohiro Ishii. Also going on tonight will be TNA Impact, as it were. As on tonight's episode of Impact 1008 from the St. Joseph Civic Center in St. Joseph, Missouri, on Access TV. This will be the countdown show to Unbreakable. We'll see Laredo will be taking on one half of the Great Hands, Jason Hotch, who will have Tasha Steele in their corner. Zaya Brookside, who will be accompanied to the ring by Lei Ying Lee, will be taking on Jasmine Nix of Fatal Attraction from NXT, with, of course, Fallon Henley and Lady Jane in her corner. In an Ultimate X qualifying match, Casey Navarro will be taking on Cody Deaner. In a women's tag team match, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley will be taking on Heather by Elegance and Maggie Lee with the personal concierge. Their corner, the System's Brian Myers takes on Leon Slater. And in the main event, we'll see one half of Spitfire, Danny Luna, with Jody Threat in her corner, taking on Jakara Jackson. One half of Metaphor with Lash Legend in her corner. And then following, of course, Impact tonight on TNA Plus, TNA will be hosting from Las Vegas, I believe. I'll get the exact location for you in a moment here. From the Cox Pavilion in Las Vegas, Nevada tonight. TNA Plus will be hosting, will be having the Unbreakable event. Of course, the show will open up with Moose taking on a mystery opponent. Also, in a 6-man tag match, Mustafa Ali teams with the Nemeth brothers to take on Mike Santana and the Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, ahead of their respective matches at next Sunday, at a week from this Sunday's Rebellion pay-per-view. Mustafa Ali will be taking on Mike Santana. The Nemeth brothers will be challenging the Hardys for the TNA World Tag Team Champion. In a barbed wire massacre match, Sami Callihan takes on Mance Warner, who will have Steph DeLander in his corner. And there will be a conclusion to the TNA International Title Tournament as the qualifying 3-way matches, the final 2 qualifying matches, one involving Eddie Edwards taking on Steve. All 3 matches for the international title, of course, will be for will be 3 ways. So in the 2 other semifinals, as it were, Eddie Edwards takes on Steve Maclin and Ace Austin, and Eric Young will be taking on in the other 3-way match. Eric Young will be taking on JDC and Zachary Wentz. The winners of those 2 respective matches will take on AJ Francis in a 3-way match to crown the first ever TNA International title. In the main event, we'll see Frankie Kazarian team with Tessa Blanchard against their respective opponents coming up at Rebellion. TNA World Champion Joe Hendry and TNA Knockouts Champion, World Knockouts Champion Masha Slamovich. So now moving on to some Ring of Honor news here. Of course, happening today as a prelude to the Spring Breakthrough show. Hey, Fitzjozo, thanks for popping in. The prelude to the coming from the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts, Ring of Honor did a prelude to Spring Breakthrough with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni doing the commentary. The opening match saw the Top Flight, the Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin, with Layla Gray in their corner, defeat the conglomeration duo of Tomohiro Ishii and Rocky Romero. Shane Taylor, accompanied to the ring by the Infantry, Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, defeated KM in a singles match. In a battle to determine the number 1 contender to the Women's World Television title, La Catalina defeated Taya Valkyrie. The main event saw Nick Wayne defeat Michael Oakley in a one-on-one match on today's earlier show. With that being said as well, of course, tomorrow, so I guess it's a special. Well, actually, we can wait for tomorrow because we'll be here tomorrow, so we'll talk about what's going to happen on tomorrow's Ring of Honor. So, because of this prelude to Spring Breakthrough special, the Hour Club episode that normally airs today got pushed to tomorrow. So we will go to that tomorrow. So let's see. With that being said, oh yeah, and of course, it's now been reported that Mariah May is actually in some talks with the WWE. It sounds like, as she's. I guess it's been made clear that once her contract is up this summer with AEW, she's probably WWE bound. Of course, we'll have on the have what's going on with Ring of Honor tomorrow night, as well as head to WWE SmackDown tomorrow night, and looking back at tonight's Impact shows, TNA shows. So let's see now. So now I guess it's time for us to get ready to move on to This Day in Niche History. As today is, of course, Thursday, April 17th, 2025. So we will now take a look back at this day in Niche history. So let's see. 1996, 2010. All right. So first off, we're going to head back to 1996. As on this date in 1996, the 60th and final issue of Volume 1 of Deathstroke went on sale on this date back in 1996, which was, of course, 29 years ago today. So for $2.25, 32 pages, the story was A Mercenary's Fate, written by Marv Wolfman, penciled by Mike Huddleston, inked by Kurt A. Schultz. Robert A. Piñana did the lettering, and Bud Seltzer did the coloring. So 29 years ago today, the 60th and final issue of Volume 1 of Deathstroke from DC Comics went on sale on this date back in 1996. All right, so now moving ahead to 2010, our next piece of niche history coming up here. On this date, 15 years ago today, Jon Moxley, of course, also known as in WWE fans as Dean Ambrose, the current AEW World Champion, defeated Roderick Strong for the Full Impact Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Title. So on this date, 15 years ago today, Jon Moxley defeated Roderick Strong for the FIP, or Full Impact Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Title, on this date back in 2010. FIP was an affiliate of Ring of Honor at the time, from what I understand. So, henceforth, the talent there. And finally, 2010 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date in 2010, over in Japan, Shin-Ei Animation's Crayon Shin. The following movies premiered in Japan on this date back in 2010, 15 years ago today. Shin-Ei Animation's Crayon Shinshan, Super Dimension, The Storm Called My Bride, and TMS Entertainment's Detective Conan, The Lost Ship in the Sky. Both premiered on this date back in 2010, 15 years ago today. So on this date, 15 years ago today, 2010, Shin-Ei Animation's Crayon Shinshan, Super Dimension, The Storm Called My Bride, and Detective Conan, The Lost Ship in the Sky, both premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2010. All right. So, anyways, let me see here. Let's see if I can figure this out here. Oh, yeah, that's what I was trying to do. All right. So, with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. Also, this Sunday, I will be joined by The Metal from the Vomitorium. We'll be looking back to comics that went on sale in May of 1940. This week, we'll be focusing in on David McKay and Eastern Color. We'll be, of course, briefly talking about, of course, from David McKay, we'll be briefly talking about Future Comics Volume 1, Issue 1, and Ace Comics Volume 1, Issue 40. We'll be talking briefly about that, and then we'll be reading through Eastern Color's Regular Fellers Heroic Comics Volume 1, Issue 1, which is a mix of new and reprinted material. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. But I got some pretty good articles to go over on MeTV Tunes. Some interesting articles looking back to some cartoon history. A couple of Daffy Duck articles and I guess a Flintstones article. So something to look forward to. We'll also, of course, on the wrestling wrap up, we'll of course, review what happened on tonight as we are ever so close. We're just 2 days away from night one of WrestleMania, a couple days away from WrestleMania weekend. A lot happening in Vegas right now in terms of the wrestling scene, as a number of promotions are, of course, doing their cards. They're having the WrestleCon there. I do know some other promotions that also did some shows today. TNA is there doing their Unbreakable event, which will be on TNA Plus tonight. The Japanese women's promotion Stardom did a show earlier today. They'll be doing a show tomorrow there as well. And of course, tomorrow we'll also look ahead to we'll go over one last time. Of course, the cards coming up over the weekend for WWE's NXT Stand and Deliver and the full rundown of WrestleMania. So with that, I do thank you guys for being here tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.